Good afternoon, everybody. We are live. So, thank you so much for joining another session of Live with Engage. I'm really excited about this conversation. I'm joined by Tracy Ruberg, who wears many hats and is involved in a whole lot and has a lot to share here today about networking and the Cincinnati community. Many of you know her as the executive director of the circuit. Tracy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
We were hanging out last week, and you started telling me a little bit more about your background, how you got involved in the circuit, and I almost wanted to say, hold on, let's save it for our live conversation. But it was good to learn a little bit more from you. Can you tell us a little bit about your career path before joining the circuit, how you kind of fell into that role, and what drew you to being part of the organization?
Thanks. I appreciate that. So I've been blessed to have well, some people say crazy, but to me, it was just kind of what happened, wild career path from starting out of school as a systems engineer in a bank and helping build a new product to having the bank sell the product to realizing, hey, I think I want to go into some sales roles. So I went into sales for, very blessed to work for IBM, HP, Dell, EMC, GTE, Cincinnati Bell. So a lot of the big boys, but then moved into some smaller organizations as well, and ultimately got back to the other side of IT, working inside companies, helping deal with strategic IT projects, a lot of process improvement and how IT feeds into those. Um, I was the victim of one of the private equity situations a while back when an organization got bought by private equity, decided they didn't need my entire department that I was leading, and got approached to, hey, Tracy, the circuit's hiring. This is a part-time job with no benefits. Why don't you take this as you support your family? And
Yeah,
I was really passionate about trying to bring our region's IT community together and felt like there was a great opportunity for us to do some things. So I jumped in with both feet and have been doing it almost 10 years now.
that's
So,
great.
so we've come, I think, a long way since then,
Yeah.
and morphed the organization into the opportunity for IT professionals to connect and collaborate with each other in a variety of different ways.
And I'll say thank you. When I was brand new to this industry about 8 years ago, specifically on the technology side, the circuit was the first thing that was pointed to me. My teammate now here at Engage, Gary Prater, said, "Hey, join me. I'm going to what was it called? Circuit Bites,
Your breakfast
maybe
bites, probably,
breakfast
yeah.
bite." Yeah, right. So I was very, very nervous walking in there. I remember, but I walked out with some new connections and immediately felt the impact. So I've enjoyed being part of it. So thanks for taking the leap at a role like that back then.
Great. Well, yeah, we appreciate you showing up, and that's one of the programs we've kind of modified over the years to tech forums now. So
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
provides an
How?
opportunity for people like you to show up and learn and connect.
Yeah, get your feet wet. I think it's important. How would you? So we talk about like the technology community. How would you define that in terms of how the circuit thinks about it, but also for like greater Cincinnati as a whole?
So that's a great question. And ironically, it was a key part of my interview for this job. And one of
Okay.
the things I said when I walked in was, in my mind, the circuit should be an overarching umbrella for all of tech,
Hmm.
across the broad spectrum. So, in my mind's view, and now my board, thankfully, um, we look at the tech as a lot of people look at it very siloed. You've got your infrastructure, the guys that are taking care of the hardware, the telecom. Um, you've got your software developers, your QA, quality assurance people. You've got your business analysts. Some reside in IT, some reside in the business. You've got security. You've got data and analytics. Um, all of those things, we recognize we can't be all things to all people all the time.
Right.
So as you may have seen, a variety, and a wide range of things. Like tech forums are a great one. We'll have one event on security. Well, a lot of
Okay.
people go, that's not my hat. I'm not going to come to that one. And we'll have another one, like we did it out at Engage's office recently, the last tech forum, on imposter syndrome. Well, you know what? Freaking everybody can apply to that one. We'll have
Right.
another one on how to how to communicate with developers in your business, so again, should hit a broader audience, so we try to shuffle those. So if we look at the IT, we have certain things we're doing for certain groups this way, and then we have other things we're trying to provide and deliver that would be a horizontal message and go across. Having said all that and recognizing we can't do all things, we're a very, very small staff. um, there's kind of a progression in greater Cincinnati. If you look at the IT landscape here,
Yeah.
um, you've got, and I'll be honest, I haven't gone out and counted them in a long time, but last time I did, there was over 100 different IT meetups in the city that are run by individuals passionate about a thing. There's a
Hmm.
data one, there's a Ruby on Rails one, there's pick a technology, and a lot of them have to do with dev.
Right.
um, then you've got the circuit, and we provide opportunities for folks that are in their early career, emerging leaders, IT executive, kind of senior roles, developers. And then you've got an IT circle that's for the CIOs of the really, really big boys. There's, 15
Right.
to 20 of them in that. So you've kind of got this progression throughout the marketplace that, depending on where you are in your career and your level of interest, you can fit yourself in to a variety of options.
I think it's fantastic. I was challenged recently by a client who said, "Hey, we need you to be more of a leader for us because we're not very involved. How can you do that? How can you make sure you're bringing new ideas to the table for us?" And I immediately thought about the circuit and some of the events because obviously I'm having conversations quite often with numerous clients, but it's a place where you can share ideas across industries, across levels of expertise, tenure, and all those things. And um, you never need to, well, you really never need to reinvent the wheel. You need to learn from people who have been there and done that. And that doesn't always mean, hey, they've been doing it forever. It might just mean they've gone through an instance or an experience recently that can apply. So it's a great place to share and to learn from others. So I think you guys do a fantastic job there.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, all right, 10 years ago, what have you seen change within the landscape within Cincinnati? And maybe how have you had to adapt the circuit over that time to kind of match or even push the community to change a little bit?
I think there's a couple of things. So one of the things that's really exciting is, and I think it was probably just starting right about that time, and it's moved to where it's now a given. IT is no longer that group in the back that's just an expense line on the financials.
Right.
People at any size organization in any industry have now recognized IT is the price of entry and can be a differentiator for you in your business. So that's a huge shift. And why is that a huge shift? It's a huge shift because it's caused a lot of us that were really good at the tech thing we did to put our heads up and look at the bigger business and help educate the rest of the business on, yeah, we can do that for you. And why are you rekeying those things into spreadsheets? So
Mhm.
it's really elevated the profession overall.
Yep.
Um, of course, tech is the one industry. I think there's probably a few others, but it's the one industry that you don't have to be in it for a long time, like decades, to be the expert, because there's always something new coming out. And so it's what's kept me engaged over all these years. And what I tell folks that are younger in their career, hey, don't let somebody who's been around for a long time tell you they know better. In fact, they probably don't, because you've
Right.
probably been playing with the new thing. And I always chuckle. Years ago, I saw a job posting that they wanted 10 years of experience. The tech had only been out for 6.
Right. Of
And I'm
course.
like,
Yeah.
clearly the HR person who wrote this was going by
Right.
a corporate guideline. And I think we've shifted that as well. The other big shift has been recognizing, yes, a 4 year college degree is awesome and it gives you a lot of different things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be a great technologist or a great IT person. You
Yeah.
can come in and start your career with a boot camp certificate or a 2 year cert from a state school and have an amazing career, um,
Hmm.
as long as you're open to learning while you're still going. So I think
Yeah.
those are the biggest changes. Um, and of course, there's AI, so how that's changing
Right.
everybody's view of things. But I would argue the only significant difference there is the speed at which it's just changing. Um,
Correct. Yep.
we've lived through all of those things, so hopefully
Yeah.
we quit panicking
Yeah.
about that.
That's a whole new one that we'll all tackle together.
Yeah.
Your comment about it, it's no longer developers in a back room drinking Mountain Dew and getting things done, but it's moved to the front. Have you seen an appetite or a desire from the folks within the circuit, or even new people coming in from like a soft skill standpoint? Because I
Oh,
assume that's changed a lot. Okay.
it's it is the number one thing that everybody says they're looking for when they're
Mhm.
hiring is the soft skills. Um, and it is, in my personal opinion, going to be probably one of the biggest differentiators as we move through this next AI and revolution that we have. We had the industrial revolution, blah blah blah. We're kind of at that one of those again, and that soft skills and critical thinking is absolutely a differentiator and a requirement now. Um, Coming in and keeping your head down and not talking to people isn't how this industry works anymore. And it's, in fact, leads to one of the things I think we've done ourselves a disservice in that we tend to let people put IT into a very narrow bucket, which is that old
Right.
school back room, keep your head down, keep your hoodie up, work in the dark,
Yeah.
and inhale
Yeah.
power drinks.
Yeah.
When that, I think that's probably the other thing that's shifted is we have a lot more jobs. We
Hmm.
always had the work, they were just kind of bundled together. Now we have a business analyst and a business support and an IT documentation and a QA and a this developer and a that. We have a lot more jobs, and the field is much broader
Yeah.
than what we defined it being 10, 15 years ago, which means there's more opportunity.
Right. 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 People from all sorts of backgrounds. To your point about
Yeah.
boot camps and things like that. I will say we have an area where when our developers are not with their clients, they come in, they sit outside here in our office. They still get mad when I turn the lights on. So some things don't change. They
Correct.
still want to work in the dark. I don't know
Yep.
what that's about, but so you having a technology background, getting into business development, and obviously you've always been very good at being able to approach people, that type of thing. Was that a learned skill, or I guess what I'm getting at is there advice that you would give
Yeah.
to young professionals saying like, all right, this is your first networking event, you're nervous, how do you get yourself out there and kind of get yourself comfortable to do that moving forward?
Yeah, it's clearly one of those stereotypes that IT people have. There's a couple
Hmm.
other industries that have it. I'll let them remain nameless. Um, and it is something I had to work at, still do. Um, I love talking to people, but it's never comfortable walking into a room where you don't know anybody and walking up to a circle and going, "Hi, I'm Tracy. I do this." Yeah, no, um, yeah, I just, there are some people that rock at that, and there's some that manage to look like they're good at it.
Yeah.
I hopefully I fall into that category because it's not a natural for me.
Yeah.
And there's others that freaking say, "I am never going to a networking event." That's a mistake. Um, it was one that I wish I would have learned earlier how important networking is to your own knowledge, your growth, and your career path. So
Yeah.
I'm constantly encouraging people along those lines. The funny part is those conversations are almost always with the people that already showed up at the networking event because you can't
Right.
get
They
to
already
be
did the first thing. Yeah.
there.
Yep.
But I think the biggest key to networking is just asking questions. Show up and don't feel like you have to have a formal elevator pitch. Sure,
Mhm.
if you do, it's great, it's helpful. You're going to get asked, what do you do? What's your interest? Be prepared to answer that. But it's authenticity and it's the ability to ask questions and listen and learn that if you go to an event and that's what you do, when you leave, people will say you were the most interesting person there. Um, and that's hard for us to get through our brains, but it is how it works. So,
Agreed.
um, so yeah, make that effort to get out there. Um, and sometimes you don't even have to talk. You can just kind of circle around the room till you can learn and see what others are doing and what feels comfortable to you and watch and go, oh, what that person's doing just doesn't feel right. And the people that are around them, their body language is bad. I'm not going to do that. You can
Right.
learn that way too. So
That's great advice. People enjoy talking about themselves, so questions are a very easy way to make others comfortable.
yeah.
Right. I think we all appreciate when people come to us with good questions about ourselves. So, um, yeah, everyone's a little bit nervous at those, and maybe some people aren't. But like you said, I'm not one of those. I never have been. One of the reasons I enjoy emerging leaders. Right, we're sitting and talking about a shared conversation, and it's a lot easier sometimes to chime in and have opinions, and then you kind of break out and have those conversations. That's why you all do a great job of offering different ways in which to connect, which is helpful for everyone.
Yeah. That's why we launched the early career group is to try and get
Okay.
to those folks that are 5 years and less in the IT industry and try to bring them together with peers that would be in the same boat. So maybe they won't be so afraid to show up. But it's
Yeah.
been funny. We've had two of them and we'll get, this many registrations and less than half show up that night. And we're like, come on,
Follow
guys,
through.
you can make it. You can do it.
Yeah, yeah. Especially those they probably have the, not judging, but most of them have the least amount of obligations because they're early in their career.
They do, but the flip side of that, which we acknowledge, and is why we are holding those in the evening, is
Yeah.
they don't feel they have the power to say, "I'm leaving to go to a work event."
Ah, interesting. Okay.
They're
Yeah.
on a help desk, they're on a support. Their boss expects to see them in their butts and
Yeah.
seats at
Yeah.
the working hours, and they're scared to ask their boss,
Yeah.
"Can I go to this event?" Which is why we aren't charging for that event because they don't know they can ask for the company to pay for it. So we're hoping that we can kind of coach them through that
Yeah.
process, and then they would move into emerging leaders and throughout their career move
Hmm.
up and learn the value of that. So,
Yeah. Have you had to? That leads me to a good question. Have you had to educate companies at all
oh,
during your time
constantly.
about the? Yeah. Do you have any anecdotes about that?
Um, it's so funny because it's one of the discussions, candidly, that our board has regularly. Is not enough people know about us. How do we get it
Mhm.
out there? Well, let's advertise. And I'm like, guys, I'm all for that, but where do you advertise? Who's reading this? Again, IT people, for the most part, aren't spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. They're not
Yeah.
reading the business career. So what do? Do you take out a billboard on 75 or 71?
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Yeah.
so when we get a company involved, we're having to constantly remind them, hey, there's others in your organization that can benefit based on where they are.
Hmm.
Um, and one thing we've started trying to do is kind of partner with some other organization in town. So we're going to
Okay.
be doing an event with FEI, Financial Executives Institute, and bringing CFOs and IT leaders together. And so a lot of those members are not our members, yet IT will report up into them. So we're hoping that will work. And then we're partnering and doing a joint event with our IT exec circle again and the UC Center for Business Analytics later in the
Okay.
year, um,
Yeah.
which is that data analytics things often sitting outside of IT in a lot of companies now, and so
Right.
pulling that back in. So, but yeah, that communication is always ongoing. Even to my board members who you would think would get it.
Right. And I'm sure some of them could make some impact and some, right. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to go be an
Well,
advocate.
and they get busy. Oh yeah, I'm going to do that. And then they get busy and it just doesn't happen.
Yeah. That's, I did not plan on talking about this, but I thought about that this morning. And I actually posted about this on LinkedIn a month or so back. People often view networking as a secondary, like I'll get to it if I have time. I'll go to that event if it fits into my schedule. And then, unfortunately, because of what we've seen within the industry and just within the market in general, you have a lot of people that are now open to work and they're looking.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel for anyone, we've all been in that situation, or the majority of us have, but they didn't take the time to do the networking on the front end. And now here they are, right? Or you have children that are graduating from college and you're saying, hey, can you help me find my son or daughter an internship or their first job? It's got to be a priority. And I think when you start to work that into your weekly cadence of one activity, go get coffee with somebody you haven't, go attend a circuit event, do something, but it can't just be a throwaway. Like if I have time, I really think from the beginning, you have to prioritize networking to be successful.
I can't agree with you more. And having been through a number of changes and a variety of roles, it was always when I let that lapse that even though it wasn't something I loved and I don't like going to events in the evening all the time, um, it was when I found I was frustrated with my career or where I was. And it was when
Mm-hmm.
I put that back on my plans, at a minimum, spend 30 minutes a week doing these two tasks and make sure you have scheduled to attend, one or two in-person events a month.
Yeah.
Start out slow. Don't, you know, once a week is going to be a lot for some people,
Yeah.
but put it on your calendar, make sure you're signing up. And when you're looking, what are you doing next month? It's the latter half of August. So what's on your calendar for September? By
Yeah.
September 15th, you should have something on your calendar for October.
Mm-hmm.
But it is hard. You have to make it a point.
Yeah. It's like saving money, right? It compounds and the interest that it builds, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I've been a professional for 10 years. Look at all the connections that I have just from small incremental steps.
Yep.
And if you don't do that, you're going to go, oh wow, I don't have any savings, and now I'm on the job market, and now I don't have the connections that are
That's
going
a
to help.
great analogy.
Yeah, I thought about it because I could probably always save some more money. I probably do good networking.
Well, we
and
all
save
could.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so we talked about the right things to do, or maybe how folks can get themselves out there and prepare. Is there anything that you would encourage or discourage at events, right? Things to avoid, so that you're not the person that everyone's running away from, you know, down
I
the
mean,
line.
that one's easy. Networking
Okay.
events are not selling environments.
Yeah.
You don't walk up and say, here's my card, here's what I do, thanks, give me a call. And then you
Right.
hound the heck out of the people after the event. That will get you, um, that will travel very quickly and get you blackballed from a lot of discussions and a lot of groups. And candidly, if we see a lot of that, we will ask folks to please cease and desist.
Yeah. Yeah. Get a cease and desist letter. No, I 100% understand that. Right. Especially people have taken the time to be there, and the time out of their days of their busy lives, and they don't want to be sold. Yeah. And
Oh, well, a lot of time, those networking events, it's not even talking about what you do or the tech. It's
right.
talking about what's the latest restaurant you went to or what's your favorite vacation spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
make that connection on the personal level and then build on it over time. And then you can follow up and say, hey, I really enjoyed our conversation at XYZ. I would love to learn more about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get together? And that was a great lesson I learned in networking. I started out when I was younger and I'd say, well, I am this and I work for this company and we do this and here's the long email. I
Right.
quickly learned that never got a response. What got a response was hey, so and so recommended you'd be a great person for me to learn from. Do you
Hmm.
have some time to get together? Didn't tell him who I worked for, other than it was in my signature line. Didn't tell him what I did. Didn't ask for any of that. 8 out of 10 accepted.
Yeah. I think it's a natural inclination to want to help people.
Yeah,
And when you put yourself out there and say, I need help,
yeah,
and all I need from you is time, right? And time is valuable, but people are more willing to give it your 1,000% right. And I think it's the follow up too, right? Often, and I made this mistake early in my career, I would go to lunch, I would be very genuine, but then as soon as I got back, I would say, hey, thanks for meeting. Now let me get into the sales aspect.
right,
Like, no, respect the fact that you made a relationship with this individual, and let it breathe for a second. You
right.
know, it's hard for us in the sales world, especially for me. I constantly want to take action in every way, um, but allowing things to simmer in the background, however you want to refer to it, is important. Because if you made a good impression, they will come back and they'll think about you when the time is right. So, yeah, it's tough to take a deep breath sometimes when you're being driven by margins and quotas and things like that. But that's more of a sales perspective.
Yeah.
So I don't know how. I'm curious. I do not travel often. I'm up in Columbus a little bit here and there. Have you seen anything from other cities in the Midwest or other organizations that are not in Cincinnati that you all have tried to duplicate or that you've learned from, or maybe seen a city that's really successful in their IT networking?
Um, Indianapolis has done some interesting things, and I tried to look at a lot of what they did, and then they actually kind of have this nonprofit side like we are. Then they have a for-profit side that's closely tied to the state and startup businesses. So that made that an interesting, unique twist. Of course, we
Hmm.
have our sister, or I call them sister organization. There's no real link between us, but Technology First in Dayton.
Yeah.
Um, they obviously do a lot, and we've got a joint event with them tonight at the Pickle Lodge. So anybody that's there is welcome to attend, even if you hadn't signed up yet. From our perspective, a portion of those tickets will go to our Tech Trailblazer Scholarship Fund that will be given out in the
Okay.
spring. And we welcome any other individual and corporate donations to that because the more we can collect, we'd like to be able to give away more. We've been self funding that. Um, the Tennessee, Nashville, I believe, has a pretty active. So I've talked to them. They're doing
Okay.
things similarly to what we are. And then Columbus does not have a formal organization. They had a group of core IT professionals that were doing a fantastic job of getting IT leaders together on a
Okay.
regular basis and then having other events similar to what our tech forum is. Um,
Okay.
our tech takeover, like we have tonight. In fact, I stole the name from them with their permission. Um, they do theirs and then they collect for a different charity every time. So
Okay.
they're giving back to a food bank or a homeless shelter. So
Yeah.
they alter that way. We shifted ours to give back to the IT community. So our Trailblazer Scholarship goes to a high school student, a non-traditional learner, and a vet who's returning to civilian life is what we try to target to build
That's
back in.
fantastic.
So we took a little bit of what theirs was and tweaked it to something we were interested in. Um, I later found out I had already kind of mapped this out. Our IT Leadership Institute that we have here, Columbus has had one. Um, the core concept is the same: develop IT
Okay.
leaders over a series of courses. There are
Yep.
some differences. Ours, I'm not sure. I think theirs might be a 6 month program. Ours is 10 months, half a day a month. But we did three things differently than what they had. Well, actually, a whole lot. But we have a session on financial literacy, a session on HR, and a community give back.
Yeah.
So what we learned, and what was important to me and that I felt was critical, was a lot of the technical folks come out of the science schools and they get no business classes, but yet they end up working in a business and they're asked to suddenly understand the P&L for their project, but nobody's
Right.
explained what P&L means or ROI. They've been
Yep.
asked to interview for their team, but nobody's told them these questions are illegal, or here's how to probe to get real answers beyond, yes, I passed my certification. So
Right.
we
Yeah.
added those, and then I wanted them to be able to connect with each other in a more detailed way. So
Okay.
we had them break into smaller teams for community give back, and they self-select the project. So it gives them something they all have an interest in. It gives back to the community and helps continue to build into our IT community here.
That's fantastic.
So
Yeah, I think that finance is the reason that I stopped pursuing my MBA. So maybe at some point I'll have to join that and learn a little bit more about people. That's great. You've got so much. Is there anything in a dream world that you want to share where you're saying, hey, this is the next big idea or thing that we're trying to chase for our community? Maybe not circuit specific, but um, yeah, anything
um,
that.
I think we, the community and greater Cincinnati population, have done a much better job of sharing and lifting each other up. I still get frustrated that some of the other IT groups in the city are maybe not as open to partnering and supporting each other as
Yeah.
makes sense to me. So that continues to be something that I stroke. So I'm very grateful that we've been able to do that with Technology First, and UCCBA and FEI. There are other organizations I'd like to do that. I think it's the constant beat the drum. Hey, we're out here. We're here to support you. You
Yep.
know, get out of your dark room with the hoodie and
Yeah.
and try to meet some people and understand that not only is this good for you personally, it is therefore good for your company, which is therefore good for our region, which then comes back and is good for you. Um,
Right.
so it is a continual circuit. So just trying to get more and more people to share what is
Yep.
out there, whether it's ours or not. You know, Project Management Institute, the Midwest Con Conference, the Cincy AI for
Hmm.
Humans, the CDO Summit that's coming up, Northern Kentucky Security Conference, Taste of
Yeah.
IT. You know, there's just so many things. We can't all do all of it. So
Right.
let's not fight each other. Let's figure out how to say, you've got this one, let's lift you up. All right, let's lift you up. And so that sharing and then helping to continually draw people into the emerging leaders group, the early career group, show up at the tech forums, let us know what's missing. I think there's opportunities for a few other of those peer-to-peer groups. And so we're
Hmm.
looking at ways to implement those.
Yeah. You would think the networking organizations would be good at networking with each other, but I get it that there can be some competition at some level. But hopefully you guys continue to lead the way and there's more of that because to your point, as Cincinnati grows, as there's more investment here in technology, companies are going to say what infrastructure is already in place to help support our employees in their careers, and certainly having that community around them is very
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, the community is the biggest thing we all want and need,
Right.
personally and professionally.
Before we wrap up, is there anything for upcoming events? I know you talked about tech takeover tonight at the Pickle Lodge. Sorry.
Yep.
Uh, is there anything else coming up that you want to talk about that people can be a part of?
Yeah, there's a couple things. Obviously, the biggest event of the year is our Best of Tech Awards, which is in September on the 18th at Hard Rock Casino, where we'll recognize a lot of the companies that are doing great things here. We're in the process of evaluating the submissions from the Proving Ground, where reality concept meets reality for the AI use cases. Um, we'll see if some of those have qualified. We reserve the right to not tackle any if we don't think we can get a good result. But
Okay.
I think we've got one or two that we'll announce that night as winners. The
Right.
Momentum Developers Conference in October is a big
Right.
one. We've sold out the last 2 years at over 500 people. So those are both available on our website. The early career meeting was last night, so we're targeting the next one in October, pending space. So keep an eye out on our newsletter and our website for the dates for that. Emerging leaders, we allow guests to visit their first meeting at no charge to check it out. That's on our website as well.
Tracy, thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation. Like I said, whether you even knew it or not, you and the circuit had a big impact on my career early and continue to have. And now I get to actually talk to you and consider you a friend. So thank you so much.
Thanks. I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, awesome. All right,
Great.
thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Great.